Daf Yomi tractate Bava Metzia, page 12. We were in the middle of a topic, so maybe it's a good idea to go to 11 at the bottom. 11b says, Ella Amar of Ashi. Rav Ashi said that the distinction between the cases of a gift and a bill of divorce, they're discussing the difference between a gift and the bill of divorce in terms of just strictly from the giving point of view. Should be explained as follows. And now we're on 12a. At the top, the words Chatzer is Rabbi Mishum Yad, etc. One's courtyard is included as a valid means of acquisition due to the fact that it acts as his hand. But it is no less effective than agency. Therefore, with regard to a bill of divorce, which is considered detrimental to the wife, one cannot transfer it to her by placing it in her courtyard in her absence, as one cannot act against the entrance. The term in the Talmud is ein chavin la'adam shelo b'fanav. The general rule is zakin la'adam shelo b'fanav, that you could give something that's a benefit to someone, not in their presence, but you cannot do something that is a detriment to them, not in their presence. One cannot act against the interest of a person unless it is in his, or in this case, her presence. By contrast, with regard to a gift, with regard to a gift which is beneficial for the recipient, one can give it to him or her by placing it in his or her courtyard in the recipient's absence, but as one can act in a person's interest in their absence. The Gemara returns to discuss the matter itself. The Mishnah teaches, if one saw people running after a found ownerless animal and said, my field has affected acquisition of this animal for me, it has affected acquisition of it for him. Rabbi Yirmiyah says that Rabbi Yochanan says, and this halacha is true, only in a case where he would be able to run after them and catch them. Rabbi Yirmiyah raises a dilemma. Does one acquire animals that are given to him as a gift in such a scenario? Rabbi Abba Bar Kahana accepted the premise of the dilemma of Rabbi Yirmiyah and ruled that in the case of a gift, one acquires the animals even if he would not be able to run after them and catch them. Rava raises a dilemma. If one threw a purse through his entrance of a house, and it went through the house and exited through another entrance, what is the halacha? Does the owner of the house acquire the purse during the course of its flight? The dilemma is an item in the airspace of a courtyard that will not eventually come to rest in the courtyard itself regarded as though it has come to rest, or is it not regarded as though it has come to rest? Rav Papa said to Rava, and some say it was Rav Ada bar Matana who said to Rava, and some say it was Ravina who said this to Rava. Isn't this the same as the halacha in the Mishnah? As it is stated, if one saw people running after a found ownerless animal and said, my field has affected acquisition of this animal for me, it has affected acquisition for him. And Rabbi Yirmiyah says that Rabbi Yochanan says, and this halacha is true only in a case where he would be able to run after them and catch them. Rabbi Yirmiyah raises a dilemma. Does one acquire animals that are given to him? Does one acquire animals that are given to him as a gift in such a scenario? Rabbi Abba Bar Kahana accepted the premise of the dilemma of Rabbi Yirmiyah and ruled that in a case of a gift, one acquires the animals even if he would not be able to run after them and catch them. Rava said to him, are you saying that a purse flying through the air is comparable to an item that is rolling or moving on the ground? A rolling item is different, as is regarded as though it has come to rest. Any given instant throughout its movement, the item rests on the ground. Therefore, the dilemma cannot be resolved from the Mishnah. Now, this is interesting, okay? Because you have a dilemma and there's no resolution here. But they don't bring it to Teku. It doesn't come to say Teku. And not only that, but Rabbi Yirmiyah asked a question that wasn't resolved. And why is there no Teku? Usually Rabbi Yirmiyah is asking a question and it goes Teku. But here, it just wasn't resolved and now we start a new Mishnah. Why was there no Teku here? Teku. Okay. With regard to the found item of one's minor, okay, we're starting a new Mishnah now. They didn't resolve the dilemma, and they didn't leave it with a Teku. With regard, so that's not the 142nd Teku in Shas. Okay, new Mishnah. Okay, with regard to the found item of one's minor son or daughter, in other words, an ownerless item that they found, the found item of his Canaanite slave or maidservant, and the found item of his wife, they are his. By contrast, with regard to the found item of one's adult son or daughter, the found item of his Hebrew slave or maidservant, and the found item of his ex-wife, whom he divorced, even if he has not yet given her payment of the marriage contract that he owes her, they are theirs. Gemara. Shmuel says, for what reason did the sages say that the found item of one's minor son or daughter belongs to his father? It is because the minor does not intend to acquire it for himself, as when he finds it, he runs with it to his father and does not retain it in his possession. The Gemara asks, is this to say that Shmuel holds that a minor does not have the capability of acquiring property for himself by Torah law? But isn't it taught in a Braita with regard to one who hires a salaried laborer to harvest his field? The son of the laborer may glean fallen stalks from behind the laborer, like all poor people who have a right to the stalks left in the field. But if one hires a laborer as a sharecropper, whether the laborer receives 1/2, 1/3, or 1/4 of the produce, his son may not glean stalks after him, as the laborer himself is considered a partial owner of the field and is consequently not considered poor. Rabbi Yossi says in both this case and in that case, the laborer's son and wife may glean after him, and Shmuel says that the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Granted, if you say that a minor has the capability of acquiring property for himself, Shmuel's opinion is understood, as when the son gleans stalks, he gleans them for himself and acquires them, and his father subsequently acquires them for him as a gift. Since the minor has no property of his own, his status is that of a poor person, and it is permitted for him to glean stalks. But if you say that a minor does not have the capability of acquiring property for himself, when he gleans the stalks, he gleans them for his father. Since his father is considered wealthy and is not entitled to the gleanings because he owns a portion of the produce, why may his wife and son glean stalks after him? The Gemara answers in Shmuel's explanation. Shmuel is stating the reason of the Tana of our Mishnah, but he himself does not hold accordingly. Rather, Shmuel holds in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi that a minor can acquire property for himself. The Gemara asks, and does Rabbi Yossi hold that a minor has the capability of acquiring property by Torah law? But didn't we learn in the Mishnah in Gittin 59b with regard to the found items of a deaf mute, an imbecile, or a minor, meaning lost items that they found, although they are not considered to be halakhically competent and are unable to acquire found items by Torah law, taking such items from them is considered robbery by rabbinic law. For the sake of the ways of peace, Rabbi Yossi says this is full-fledged robbery. Rav Chizda says that Rav Yossi means that it is full-fledged robbery by rabbinic law. And the practical difference between the opinion of the first Tana and Rabbi Yossi's opinion is that according to Rabbi Yossi, if the robber refuses to return the stolen item, it is appropriated by the judges and returned to its owner. In any event, it is evident from here that Rabbi Yossi also holds that a minor can acquire property for himself by Torah law. Rather, Abaye rejected the above explanation of Rabbi Yossi's opinion in the Braita with regard to gleaning and said, the reason that according to Rabbi Yossi, a sharecropper's son may glean after him despite the fact that he does not acquire property by Torah law is that in such a case the sages render the field like one through which the last gleaners have walked. Once the poor people have finished gleaning stalks from a field, even wealthy people are permitted to collect whatever remains. In this case, since the sharecropper's son is walking behind him, the poor people themselves dismiss the notion of gleaning in this field from their minds. They assume that the son of this sharecropper is gleaning for him, and that they will therefore not find any gleanings in this field. Since the poor people themselves have finished taking stalks from the field, the sharecropper's son can glean for his father. Rav Ana bar Matana said to Abaye, but how is it permitted for one to allow his son to follow him in the field, thereby causing all the poor people to leave? Is a person permitted to have a lion crouch in his field so that poor people will see it and flee? Rather, Rava stated an alternative explanation. To be continued on 12b.